Good morning. This is my first video for my vinyasa practice CEU, the 300-hour Advanced Teacher Training CEU. My name is Heather Darden. I will be going through Sun Salutations for beginners. This is to focus on how to modify if you have a larger body like me, or if you have some injuries, or if you've never ever done yoga before. This should make it easier to learn the Sun Salutations. Sun Salutations are originally part of an Ashtanga practice. Ashtanga is a practice that has been done for thousands of years. It is the basis for all of the vinyasa and flow classes that you see now. And Sun Salutations are where the flow really begins. So we're going to start with the breath, and then we'll work on warming up a bit. And then we'll actually break down each posture as we string them together to finally do a few Sun Salutations before cooling down and resting. Hope you enjoy the practice. Thank you. So just start on your mat. You can come to a seated position or you can lie down. I'll be seated. If you're not comfortable seated in a crisscross yoga sauce position like I am, you might want to try it with your legs out in a wide V, or you can kneel sitting on your heels with your knees bent. You can also use a block underneath your sitting bones. I'll be using blocks throughout the practice and showing you how to use them so that will make it easier. So just start by closing your eyes, or if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, allow your eyelids to be very heavy. Let your eyes relax in their sockets. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm letting my hands rest in my lap. You can do the same. You can also bring them to your heart in what is called Anjali Mudra. And just focus in on your breath. So you don't need to change your breath at this time. You just want to notice, what is your breath doing? Is it fast? Is it slow? Does it have a rhythm? Notice where you feel it in your body. You might even want to put your hands, one on your lower abdomen, one on your upper abdomen, just to see if you can feel where the breath is coming in and going out. You may also feel the gentle brush of your breath over your lips as you breathe in and out of your nostrils. Notice all of these sensations. Stay with some awareness on your breath, and then go a little deeper and notice, how is this breath making you feel? How do you feel in this moment with this breath? Whatever comes up is whatever comes up. There are no wrong or right answers. There's just observation, noticing what you feel. Continue taking notice of your breath throughout the practice. I will be reminding you in case you forget. And if you find yourself losing your breath or breathing really high in your chest, almost like a panting. Just take a break, come into child's pose or a seated position like we're in now, and just use your breath, slow it down. When your breath is back to normal and you feel comfortable again, rejoin the practice. I do want to be clear that you should not do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't do anything that's painful. Challenging yourself is one thing, but doing anything that is painful or uncomfortable could hurt you and lead to injury. So make sure that what you're doing feels comfortable to your body and to your mind. With that, we'll begin the warm-up. We're going to start in child's pose. There are two different ways to do this. You can do it with your knees together or your knees apart. Knees together is going to open up your lower back a little bit more. Knees apart, it'll work more on your outer hips. I like to do mine with my knees apart just because it gives my abdomen a little more room to breathe. It gives my breast tissue some space. So, knees wide, toes together, and you just lay out as much as you can. I use a block if my forehead does not reach the ground, which sometimes it doesn't. You know, you wake up with a new body every day. And you just rest here. You might gently waggle your bottom side to side. Notice how that changes sensation. You might just want to be still. You can also make this really active, pressing into your hands, taking more weight into your glutes and into your heels. For now, I'm just going to relax. We'll take 5 deep breaths here, in through the nose and out through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Press into your hands. Gently come back up to that kneeling position. Move the block out of the way if you used it. We're going to come to all fours position, sometimes also called tabletop. You want your hands with your fingers opened out wide, thumbs relaxed, underneath or in line with your shoulders. If you have shoulder issues, you may want to bump your hands out just a 1/4 inch to the side, a little bit wider. Sometimes that can help if there's a bunch of scar tissue in the shoulders. Otherwise, just leave them in line with your shoulders. Mine are bumped out just a little bit because I do have a lot of shoulder injuries. I played rugby when I was younger, and rugby is not kind to the joints. Your knees are underneath your hips, and they're about hip bone distance apart. If you want to measure that, you can take your fist and see if it'll fit in between your knees. You want it about a fist distance apart. If you're pregnant, you want it a little bit further than your wrist, than the width of your fist. Excuse me. Here we go. So for cow, you're going to allow your belly to dip, bring your heart through your arms, bend your elbows slightly, and just look forward. There's a little bit of a look up. You can also roll your eyes up in your head. That's some yoga for your face, but only do it if it feels comfortable for your eyes. If anything makes you feel nauseous, that's your body telling you don't do it. This is cow pose. Typically we inhale here, so let's take an inhale together. And then the typical thing to do is to come into cat pose as you exhale. So as you exhale, arch your back strongly, take your shoulder blades away from each other, and take your nose towards your belly button for cat. We'll do this 5 times together. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Curl everything in. Inhale, cow. Gaze forward. Bring your heart through. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Return to your neutral tabletop position. Make sure you're taking the muscles beneath your belly button and drawing them in toward your spine and then up towards your head, just so your lower back stays safe and guarded. From here, we're going to come into thread the needle. It's a really nice shoulder opener. I like to open up the underarm space first. So I will do my right shoulder first. What we're going to do is you're going to stay here in all fours position. Shift your weight into your left hand. Take your right hand up toward the ceiling. Open your heart up. And then slowly come down. Thread your arm between your left arm and your legs. And then bring your head down. There'll be weight in your shoulder. You can keep your hand in front of your face. I like to walk my left hand out toward the top corner of my mat and then just settle in for a few breaths. We'll be here for 4 deep breaths. I like to do in and out of my nose the most, just because the nose has a natural filtration system, so you're, kind of filtering out the germs as you breathe in and out. 1, 2, 3, 4. To come out of this pose, I'm going to bring my left hand back down in front of my face, fingers opened out wide. Press into my left hand, unwind my right hand, take it up toward the ceiling, and then bring it back down underneath my shoulder. Same thing, other side. Take your left hand up, open your heart up toward the side wall, thread your hand through, bring your shoulder and head down. Reach your right hand out toward the corner of your mat if you want to do that, or leave it in front of your face. 4 deep breaths here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring your right hand back in front of your face if you took it up toward the corner. Press into your right hand. Unwind your left hand. Bring it back down. Shift your weight back. Take your bottom to the side and take your legs out in front of you and shake them out. So we're just going to do a few back of the leg openers here in a seated position, some nice twists and side bends just to get the body warmed up. If you know a different warm-up and you would like to do that instead, please feel free. If you're doing what I'm offering, we're going to come to a seated forward fold. So I like to reach down and grab the tissue of my glutes and pull it out of the way of my sitting bones. They're not actually called sitting bones, they're called your ischial tuberosities, but in yoga classes you'll hear them referred to as your sits bones or sitting bones, because it's typically what you sit on if you're not sitting on your tissue. The reason you might want to remove the tissue, get it out of the way, is just to make sure you're not crushing any nerves or blood vessels. It makes it a lot easier. Sitting on the bone is a lot stronger too. So I'm seated on my sitting bones. My legs are extended out in line with my hips, not directly together. I'm flexing my toes back toward my feet. That keeps you from hyperextending your knees. So if you have a tendency to hyperextend your knees or to press the back tissue of your knees down into the ground, flexing your toes will prevent that, which is much better for your knees. Hyperextension is terrible for the knees. Roll your shoulders back and down. Inhale, bring your arms out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward. It doesn't have to be a big fold, and you can reach for your shins, the pants that are on your legs. You can, if you want to, take your peace fingers, your middle finger and index finger, put them together like so, and then place them between your big toe and second toe. And you can gently press your thumb into the toenail. This is some Marma point stimulation from Ayurveda. You don't have to do it. This is just an offering. You can give it a try. So if you're doing it with your fingers, your hands are on your shins, it doesn't matter. What you do is inhale, lengthen, exhale, see if you can fold a little deeper. You can keep your head in line with your spine, or if it's comfortable, you can let your head be heavy, give a stretch to the back of your neck and let your throat relax. Whichever you like the best, whatever feels good. So we're going to be here for 5 breaths. Keep flexing your toes back towards your head. Keep inhaling and lengthening, exhaling and folding. So it'll be 5 of my breaths. That might be faster or slower than yours. So you may be here a little bit longer, but just stay with your breath. When you are done with your 5 breaths, hinge back up, release whatever you have hold of, bring your hands back behind you, relax your feet and gently waggle them side to side. Bring your feet into what's called easy seated pose. Sometimes people also call it crisscross yoga sauce. Again, move that glute tissue out of your way. Roll your shoulders back and down. We're going to do some easy side bends. So bring one hand down next to you. Take your other arm up and slowly hinge over for a side bend. You can vary this. You can press into the hand that's on the ground. You can reach out through the fingers of your hand that is up. You can also play around with the sensations by taking your heart toward the floor, seeing how that moves the sensation around, or by opening your heart up toward the ceiling or the sky, depending on where you are. No matter where you are, find a place you like. We'll stay here for 3 deep breaths. Inhale, come through center, bring both arms up. Exhale, your other arm down, lean to the other side. Again, you can press into your bottom hand, reach out through your top hand, really activate your fingers, melt your shoulders away from your ears and play around a little bit. Maybe you take your heart forward, maybe it feels good on one side and not on the other. For me, leaning forward feels really good when I'm leaning to one side, and leaning back feels good on the other side. You don't use your body symmetrically, so it's okay if you also don't necessarily need to do the same thing in your yoga practice on each side. You can vary it. Just make sure it feels good and you're comfortable and can breathe. That was about 3 breaths. Inhale, center. Take a simple side twist. So bring one arm forward and one arm back. You can do it as an open twist. Draw your navel in and up toward your spine, or you can relax your arms. Bring your front hand to wrap around the outside of your thigh. Bring your back hand really close to you, almost like a second spine, and press into the ground. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, take a twist to the back. If your back hand doesn't quite reach the ground, you can always take a block and place it back there and press into the block instead of the ground. Use your props. They help you and they'll help you deepen your practice. You can gaze to the side. You can turn your head and gaze over your back shoulder. Breathe deeply. The deeper you breathe, the more you'll get out of your twist. Inhale, center. Bring both arms up just to reset. Roll your shoulders back and down. Exhale, other side. Again, you want your back hand right up next to you or as close to you as possible, either on top of a block or on the ground. Your other hand can wrap around the outside of your thigh. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Gaze to the side or turn your head and gaze over your shoulder, only if it's comfortable for your neck. If you do this and it doesn't feel good, then just let go. Make sure your legs are staying relaxed. They'll try to crawl up. Don't let them, just let them be heavy. Inhale, return to center. Exhale, bring your hands down. So we're going to start with the very beginning posture of the Sun Salutations. It's called Mountain Pose. Sometimes it's also called Victorious Mountain when the arms are lifted in the air. We're going to go over the basic principles of it. It's a very strong posture. You may want to have a block nearby. We are going to use it in this. If you don't have a block, you can always grab a rolled up full-size towel or beach towel to use instead. You'll end up with about the same size of block. You can also use a book, although books tend to be kind of pointy, so I would go for the towel, small blanket, or block. Come on up to standing any way you do it. Sometimes you have to readjust your clothes. And you're going to stand with your feet, toes and heels in line with each other. You want your feet in line with your hip bones. So not your outer hip tissue, but your hip bones. Take the block, place it between your thighs. So I am a relatively short person. Everything on me is kind of small. So I'm doing the block horizontally like so. If you have longer legs, it may be more comfortable to have the block in a vertical position like this. But for me, horizontal is enough. You want it in the soft tissue here. Don't take it up to your groin. It shouldn't go down to your knees. You want it in that soft middle area between your thighs. Once you get it there, use your inner thighs to squeeze the block. Press into the soles of your feet. Lift your toes up. And now place your toes back down one by one, starting with your pinky toe and moving in. So pinky, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, big toe. We'll do that again. Lift up your toes, place them down one by one, pinky toe toward big toe. Pinky, 2, 3, 4, big. One more time. Lift them up. Pinky, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, big toe. Roll your shoulders back and down. Notice what your belly is doing. If you're allowing it to just spill out, it's going to put a lot of pressure on your lower back. So you do want to take the muscles right beneath your belly button. They're very deep abdominal muscles. You want to draw them in and then up toward the crown of your head, like you're drawing a hook inside of your body. So you don't want to do it like a bikini photo. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what I mean. So it's not like you suddenly go and everything goes up and this is flat. See how I can't breathe when I do that? It's a simple engagement. It's a similar one, but you want to do it at about 40% of that and really focus on this area down here. So draw the muscles right beneath your navel in and up, and you'll feel a strengthening and a support of your lower back as soon as you do that. Keep that engagement while you're squeezing the block. Roll your shoulders back and down, and just let your arms hang beside your body. Typically, the palms are turned out. Sometimes this is called Samasthiti, same standing. So it's the same standing pose you return to at the end of several things, like the end of Sun Salutations, the end of a vinyasa, sometimes. And the shoulders are rolled back and down, which sometimes allows the palms to face forward. If this hurts your elbows or shoulders, just let your hands fall with the palms facing towards your body. This is mountain pose. You can feel it's a really strong pose. Your feet are in contact with the earth. You're squeezing the block together. You're drawing your belly button, the muscles right beneath your belly button, in and up. You're rolling your shoulders back and down. Find a gentle tuck to your chin. We'll take 5 deep breaths here in mountain pose. Hopefully you're getting warm by now. You can close your eyes if you want to. Check in on your knees. Make sure there's at least a micro bend in your knees so that you are not hyperextending your knees back. If you hyperextend your knees back, or it's also called locking them out, you will cut off blood flow and nerve messages, which can make it very hard to stand. This is a very strong position. There is a great yoga teacher that says if you have mountain in your practice and it's very strong, doing a headstand is no problem at all. I'm still working on my headstand, so I will keep you informed, but mountain is a strong pose. Victoria's mountain is just a variation on this, where you bring your arms out and up. So I'm reaching out through my fingers, I'm sliding my shoulder blades down toward my waist. You don't want your shoulders up by your ears. That crowds you, makes it hard to breathe. It takes away some of the room that you have up here in your upper chest. So slide your shoulder blades down towards your waist. Make sure there's room between your ears and your arms. If you want, you can gaze forward. Some people like to look up at their hands. Some people bring the hands together in an extended prayer. Whatever it is that you like best, do that. I'll be doing mine extended prayer and looking up, and we'll take 5 breaths here. If you've gazed up, bring your gaze forward. Let your arms float down. Take out the block. So that was the first pose in Sun Salutation A. It's usually the first pose in most Sun Salutations. We're going to be learning the Vini Yoga Sun Salutation first. It is really one of the best Sun Salutations to do on an airplane if you're traveling a lot. It's also one of the simplest to remember. It's really good for opening up your lower back and getting your breath to be a little deeper and calmer. So mountain pose is where you always begin, even in the Vini Yoga Sun Salutation. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what I'm doing with my body. That should make it a little easier. So come to mountain pose. Make sure you've got your strong foundation with your toes. You're squeezing your inner thighs together. Roll your shoulders back and down. Draw the muscles beneath your belly button in and up. Inhale, bring your arms out and up for victorious mountain. Gaze up at your hands or gaze forward. We're just going to inhale and exhale here. Make sure you're micro bending your knees. Don't lock them out. On your exhale, press the air down with your hands. Dive forward into forward fold. So once you get here, forward fold can be really hard if the backs of your legs are very tight. So bend your knees as much as you need to. You can even bend them so much that your torso rests on your thighs. Keep your knees from knocking in together. Keep them slightly apart. And we're going to come to the ragdoll version of this, just since it's the first forward fold we've done. Bring your hands to opposite elbows. Let your head hang heavy. Shake it yes. Shake it no. Really let it go. You might want to try sending your weight more into your toes, just rocking forward a little bit. That can increase the sensation in the backs of your legs and in your lower back. That doesn't feel good, then rock your weight back so it's evenly distributed along the whole foot except for the arch, which continues to lift. Breathe deeply here. So this is the second posture in the Vinyasa Sun Salutation. The third posture is sometimes called half forward fold, Ardha Uttanasana. That second language I just spoke is Sanskrit. It's an ancient language. It's not really used much anymore except in ceremonies, but you will hear it used occasionally in yoga classes. For Ardha Uttanasana, I like to use my blocks, but I'll show you another variation in case you're in a place where you don't have blocks. So I put them up on my highest setting. Press my hands down firmly. So I want to draw my shoulder blades apart. Look out and lengthen. So I'm lengthening out through the crown of my head. There's a gentle tuck to my chin, and I'm lengthening out through my sitting bones. See how I'm waggling my hips? That's where your sitting bones are. So you're lengthening out here. It's like you're making the number 7 with your body. And this is Ardha Uttanasana, or half forward fold. This one you will see a lot in Sun Salutations and Vinyasas. It's not just a placeholder, it is a pose in and of itself. It does help you get a longer spine and some opening in the backs of your legs. The next round through, I'll show you how to do it without the blocks. Exhale, fold forward again. Always bend your knees as much as you need to feel comfortable. One way up is to roll up. So the next posture in this Vinyasa Sun Salute is mountain pose. So press into your feet, bend your knees slightly, draw your belly button in and up, and slowly stack yourself up vertebra by vertebra, letting your hands and head be heavy. Shoulders roll back and down. Once they come up, head comes up too. Bring your arms out and up. Take an inhale and an exhale here. And let your arms float down. That's one Vinyasa Sun Salute. We're going to do that 2 more times. The second time, I'll show you the variation without the blocks. I'm going to get them out of my way. Boom. Here we go. Inhale, bring your arms out and up. Look up or stay looking forward. Exhale, dive forward, forward fold. Hang heavy, bend your knees as much as you need to. When you're ready, on an inhale, here's the version without the blocks. You can press into your shins or into your thighs to make the number 7 with your body. So you want your head vaguely in line with your hips. So it's one long line. I press gently into my shins right beneath my knees. Keep a slight bend to your knees. Reach out through the crown of your head. And then exhale, fold again, taking that length you just created with you. Inhale, instead of gently stacking up, you can hinge up. If you're going to hinge up, press into your feet, draw the muscles beneath your belly button in and up, take your arms out wide, and it's like a reverse swan dive to come up, but you're using your abdominal muscles to come up. Bring your arms out and up, exhale, bring your hands down. We'll do that one more time. Remember, any version you like. So if you like the blocks, use the blocks. If you want your hands in prayer up ahead, up above you, do that. I'll be doing my own variation, and I'll call out what I do so you can tell what I'm doing. Inhale, bring your arms out and up, reaching out through my fingers, not bringing them together. Shoulder blades down and squeezing together. Exhale, fold forward, press the air down. Let your head be heavy, bend your knees slightly. Inhale, press into your shins or your thighs. Look out and lengthen, or use your blocks. Gentle tuck to your chin. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. I'm hinging, you can stack. And bring your hands to your heart. Gently shake it out. Maybe get a drink of water. That's what I'm going to do. Forgot to bring my water close by. So that was one or a set of 3 Vini Yoga Sun Salutations. So there are lots of variation on Sun Salutations. We're just going to learn the Vini Yoga Sun Salutation and Sun Salutation A in this video. Those are the Sun Salutations you will see most often in a vinyasa or flow class. Part of Sun Salutation A is used as what's called a vinyasa, which is just a series of movements matched with your breath that you do in between postures in a vinyasa or flow class. You want to make sure that you are doing things that feel good to you. If a vinyasa is too much for your shoulders, always feel free to do a cat and cow match with your breath and then come up into down dog instead of doing a vinyasa in your class. I want to be sure you feel comfortable, you know what you're doing, and you know that you have agency. This is your practice. Remember, I'm not your mom. Do what you need to do to feel comfortable and enjoy your practice. Here we go. The rest of Sun Salutation A, which incorporates the movements we just did in the Vini Yoga Sun Salutations. So we'll start with the beginning, and then I'll break it down as we get to postures we need to break down. I always like to have my blocks ready for me at the corners of my mat. And I'll show you how to use them in the Sun Salutations as we move through. So lots of different variations. But typically you start up at the top of your mat so you have enough room to send your feet far back for some of the postures. Roll your shoulders back and down. Keep a slight bend in your knees. Engage the muscles beneath your belly button. Roll your shoulders back and down and come into your version of mountain pose. This is the first posture in Sun Salutation A. Inhale, bring your arms out and up. Look up or look forward. Exhale, dive forward into forward fold. So far, this is familiar territory. Press into your shins or your thighs, or use your blocks. Look out and lengthen. Make the number 7 with your body. Remember to find a gentle tuck to your chin so you're not crushing the back of your neck and tensing up your throat. Exhale, fold forward. Here comes a new move. This one is called high plank. So you want to bend your knees enough that you can get your hands down onto the mat, shoulder width apart. I'm going to show you the movement and then we'll break down the pose. So I'm going to shift my left foot back and then my right foot. So I'm now in high plank pose. My hands are underneath my shoulders, fingers opened out wide. I'm lengthening out through my heels. I'm pressing the floor away so that the muscles between my shoulders dome up. So, plank pose is not a push-up. They are very different. For a push-up, your arms are wider, your elbows bend out. In the sun salutation, your elbows do not bend out. They stay close to your body no matter what you're doing. It forces you to use your abdominal muscles a little bit more and keeps the pressure out of your shoulders a little bit more as long as you're doing it properly. Make sure you're doing it properly. So if you step back into high plank and it was too much, your arms were shaking, you can always just step back to an all fours position. Once you get here, you can do a cat and a cow. They do work on strengthening the abs as well as opening up the back. And then you can move on to the next pose, which is down dog. That's one option. Another option is to do plank on your knees. So for plank on your knees, when you come into high plank, you immediately put your knees down very gently. You can let the tops of your feet come down, and then you're here in high plank. The important thing is to not drop your head and to not let your spine bow. You want to keep your bottom in line with your spine, so you're engaging your core, and press the floor away with your hands, even in half plank. So this is half plank. For full plank, you turn your toes up underneath you. You're reaching up with your legs. You're pressing the floor away and doming between your shoulders. It's a very strong posture. To come to the next move, which is all the way down on the mat, you can either put your knees down, bend your elbows, let them brush your body, and come all the way down. Or you can start from plank, full plank, bend your elbows and come all the way down. So this is a beginner's version, so we are not doing what is called chaturanga. I'll go over that in another video. So now you're on your belly. I'm going to move my blocks out of my way. Your hands are underneath your shoulders. Forehead is touching down. We're going to come into what is called cobra. So back bend, we'll do baby cobra first, followed by full cobra. So take the tops of your feet, press them down into the mat so strongly that your knees come up. Take your hip points, scoop them up toward your head so you get a nice long back supported by your abs. Keep your hands underneath your shoulders. Draw yourself long and then slowly curl up using your abdominal muscles. Everything is active here. I can float my hands up. This is baby cobra. Keep your shoulders away from your ears. Slowly roll back down. For full cobra, if your back is open enough, you still press down into the mat with the tops of your feet. You're still scooping your belly button up toward your head. Your hands slide down to the bottom of your ribs, fingers opened out wide, elbows reaching up, not out. No chicken wings. They reach up. Slowly draw yourself longer. Keep pressing into the floor with your feet and hips and come up. You can press into your hands, but your hip points stay down. Elbows usually stay bent. Exhale, slowly lower back down. To come back up, you have a few choices. So that was the next move. Cobra. Sometimes up dog is done. I'll go over up dog in another video. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Turn your toes up underneath you. You can press into your hands and come up into half plank. So you come up like so, and then full plank, and then backing up to downward facing dog. Another transition is to come directly from cobra to plank itself. In one move, you come up, and then you move up and back. Another version is to come back to child's pose, rest here for a moment, and then come up and back to downward facing dog. So, child's pose works on the same parts of your body, opening them up, as downward facing dog or similar parts. So always feel free to take a child's pose instead of a downward facing dog. You never, ever, ever have to do more than you're comfortable doing. So we've gone over the first few moves: mountain pose, forward fold, half forward fold again, hands down, feet back, plank or half plank, or do a cat and cow, followed by a back bend, usually cobra or up dog. We went over baby cobra and cobra, so you've got options there. The next move is to come up and back into downward facing dog. So you can do that in the ways I just showed you. You can come up into half plank, full plank, and then down dog, full plank, down dog, child's pose, and then down dog. But we're going to go over downward facing dog because it is an important posture. It's supposed to be a resting pose. Most people don't experience it that way when they're first doing their practice. So if it doesn't feel very restful to you, that's okay. Let it go. Just do your best. Keep working on it. So I'm going to show you some ways to get into it that will make it easier. If you have any wrist problems, you do want to make sure that you are taking care of your wrists. They can get tweaked a whole lot in plank and downward facing dog. You can always do those postures on your forearms instead of on your hands. And I'll go over that in another video where we do sun salutations on our forearms. All right, I'm going to grab a drink of water and we will continue. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Downward facing dog, one of the most used postures in any flow or vinyasa class. So downward facing dog does a lot with the shoulders, but it's really supposed to be about lengthening your spine and strengthening your abdominal area. So if you are feeling it a whole lot in the shoulders, your shoulders and arms are shaking, just come down, come into a child's pose and take a break and rejoin us when you can. So downward facing dog, you start from all fours position. You want your hands underneath your shoulders. You want your knees underneath your hips. From here, you're going to turn your toes up underneath you. Draw your belly button in and up so you're really strengthening through your abdominals. Draw your abdominals in like this into your midline, like you're zipping up a jacket. So everything is very active on this part of your body. Press into your hands. Turn your toes up underneath you. Press up and back to downward facing dog. So one of the things I see a lot in class is people being too far forward. So it's almost like a push-up. So if this is happening, it could be that your legs are really tight. So just bend your knees and think about sending your heart toward your upper thighs. So that will shift your weight back a little bit more into your legs. You don't ever have to get your heels all the way down on the mat. Mine do, but it took me years to get my hamstrings open enough to do that. And some people's hamstrings are just too tight, or the calves are too tight, especially if you run a whole lot. So don't expect your heels to come down to the ground. You can always keep a bend in your knees. Another thing I see a lot is feet too close or too far. So if they're too close, you're going to feel like your weight is pitched forward. It's going to be all in your hands and wrists. It won't feel good. So you want your feet about 4 or 4.5 feet away from your hands. It's a really wide stance. The other thing I see is people in sort of this weird push-up position that's really extended. That puts a lot of pressure on your shoulders. So if you feel a lot of pressure in your shoulders or in your underarms, walk your feet in just a little bit. You want about half your weight in your arms, the other half in your legs. So one thing I like to do is come up into down dog, come up on my tippy toes, bend my knees, press into my hands, take my heart toward my upper thighs, and then allow my heels to melt down. So now I'm in a better position. This is downward facing dog. Sometimes you just stay here for a breath. We'll stay here for 3 breaths. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. From here, you're going to step back up to a forward fold for the sun salutation. So we've already done forward fold. The transition here that matters. There are a couple ways to do it. One way is to just take tiny steps, leaving your hands down for as far as you can, and come all the way up to your hands, and then hang heavy in your forward fold. That's one type of transition. Another type that you will see is a big step. So if you're taking a big step and your hips are not that open, you'll end up sort of going halfway up, and then you'll need to take your hand, place it back behind your knee, and sort of help it come forward. And then you can step your other one halfway up, and then forward and hang. Another way is to just, your hips are open enough, you want to think about swinging your leg, like so, rather than stepping it or hopping it. So if you can, swing your leg, swing it forward, swing your other leg forward, and then hang heavy. So now we're here, back in our mountain pose, hanging heavy. You're familiar with mountain, we'll stay here for 2 breaths. Press into your shins or your thighs. The next posture is half forward fold. So look out and lengthen, make your number 7. Exhale, fold. The next posture is mountain, so bend your knees, stack yourself up, or hinge up in one piece. Bring your arms out and up. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart or down beside your body. That's one full Sun Salutation A with all the modifications possible. So we're going to do one full Sun Salutation A, and then we're going to cool it down because we've done a lot of work learning Sun Salutation A. You always want to make sure you take at least 5 to 7 minutes for your Shavasana just to absorb your practice. So here we go. We'll do 2 breaths in each posture and then move to the next one. I will remind you of modifications so you can do it with me. I'll do it with the modifications that I typically make. I just had appendix surgery, so my abs are not as strong as they were. So I will not be doing chaturanga. I will not be jumping through, in case you've seen those modifications or those adaptations to your sun salutation. Here we go, all together. Come to the top of your mat, mountain pose. Roll your shoulders back and down, come back to your breath. Inhale, bring your arms out and up. Exhale, forward fold. Sun salutations are typically done with the breath. Inhale, look out and lengthen. Exhale, fold, bring your hands down, step your feet back, high plank. Slowly bring yourself all the way down to the mat. Flip the tops of your feet over, press into the tops of your feet, scoop your belly button up towards your nose, draw yourself up. I'm doing baby cobra, feel free to do full cobra. Exhale, lower down, turn your toes up underneath you. I'll be coming up into half plank on my knees and then full plank. Back up to down dog. Sometimes you have to step your feet forward. You'll notice I did that. Do it if you need to. And take 3 deep breaths here. One, 2, 3. Inhale, look up, step, tiny steps or big step up to your hands. Forward fold here. Press into your shins or your thighs. Half forward fold, Ardha Uttanasana. Fold again into Uttanasana. Inhale, come all the way up. Mountain pose. Exhale, bring your hands down and let it go. One full Sun Salutation A. Well done. How do you feel? I hope you feel good. So we're going to start our cool down now. It's just going to be a quick cool down followed by a Shavasana. So you don't need any props for this unless you just want them. I'm not really sure what you would use them for. We're going to do a bridge to release the back and shoulders, followed by some simple spinal twists, and then a happy baby, and then the final rest Shavasana. Take as long a Shavasana as you would like. Here we go, all together. So come down to seated on your mat, and then come to lying down. You can't really see me, so I'm going to adjust this a little bit. There we go. Okay. So you're going to come to lying all the way down on your mat. Squeeze your shoulder blades together underneath you. Bring your feet close to your glutes. You want them about hip bone distance apart. You should be able to reach down and gently brush the outside of each foot, maybe each heel with your middle finger. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Press into your feet, press into your shoulder blades. Bring your torso and bottom up for bridge pose. Keep the bend in your neck. Don't try to flatten it out. Don't look side to side, just look up. And if you want, you can bring your hands together underneath you, interlace the fingers, roll your shoulders again, deeper underneath you, and keep pressing into your feet, drawing your belly button in and up. So it's a really strong bridge. 3 more deep breaths here. 1, 2, 3. Unwind your fingers. Slowly roll yourself back down. Bring your arms out into a T. Bring your knees into your chest. Gently rock side to side just to release any tension from bridge. Then we're going to come to a simple spinal twist. So allow both knees to fall to one side. Let both of your shoulders stay on the ground. You can turn your head to look away from your knees if you want to. You can adjust where you feel the stretch. The closer your knees are to your head, like so, the more it's going to be in your upper and middle spine. The more you move your knees down, the more the twist is going to open up your lower spine. I like mine somewhere in the middle. That's about where I need it. We'll take 4 deep breaths here. Inhale, bring your head to center. Bring your knees to center. Maybe hug them close. Draw some circles on the ceiling. One direction, the other direction. Bring your arms back out. And take your knees to the other side for a spinal twist on the other side. You may find that you want your knees in a different position on each side. That's fine too. We don't use our body symmetrically. So it's okay to have your knees up closer to your head on one side and then further away on the other, or to do them at the same height. Just listen to your body and do what it's asking you to do. You can always look away from your knees. I already find this to be a bunch of sensations, so I'll be just looking straight up at the ceiling. 4 breaths here. Inhale, bring your knees to center, hug them in close. Maybe take a happy baby, so you open your knees out wide. Keep your knees bent and act like you're going to walk on the ceiling with the soles of your feet. You can gently draw your knees down past your torso, or you can just gently hang on to them, rock side to side, straighten one leg, then the other leg, just see what happens. We'll hang out here for another 3 breaths. I like to hang on to the outside of my feet. Some people hang on to their pant legs. You can also hang on back behind your knees, depending on how mobile you are. 1, 2, 3. Gently bring your knees together. Take them in close to your chest. Take your chin toward your chest and hug yourself into a tight ball. And then slowly release all the way down to the mat. So different positions you can do for your Shavasana, your final resting position. Classic one is legs out, about hip bone distance apart or about as wide as your mat. Arms beside your body, a little bit away from your body. This is typical Shavasana. My back can be really tight, so sometimes I like to do it with my knees bent, a little wider than my hips, and then I let my feet are a little wider than my hips, my knees collapse in. Other people like a little more back opening, so you can do a reclined bound angle, soles of your feet together, knees opened out. Just make sure that whatever you've chosen feels good for you. Squeeze your shoulder blades together underneath you. Notice if there are any more wiggles you need to get out. Wiggle and stretch, get them out. And then allow your eyes to close. Focus in on your breath. And just breathe like you do when you're going to sleep. Take 5 to 10 minutes here. Make sure you are enjoying your Shavasana. And I'll see you again in the next video. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. I am honored. Have a wonderful rest of your day.